What's going on, gym bros and gym girls? My name is James, and welcome to the first episode of Gym Bro Talks, where we dive into the minds of bodybuilders, get you educated on how to build the most aesthetic physique, and talk about topics that help with life success. Tonight might just be the coolest day of my life. The man himself is sitting right in front of me, Noel Deyzel, aka Daddy Noel. How you doing today, Daddy? Sir.
Hey, gym bros, gym girls. James, appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for having me on. Excited for our chat. I had quite a hair-raising experience earlier. I experienced my first tornado, so
Crazy.
I survived it. Here I am to tell the story and to answer some questions.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So just to let you guys know, Noel honestly is one of the most genuine and the nicest guy I've ever met. Honestly, through our short interactions before the podcast, before I launched it, I needed a guest and I messaged Noel. I knew it was a long shot, and I knew I was gonna miss 100% of the shots that I don't take. So I shot him a message, and he actually replied in 2 minutes and said yes. So here we are. I'm so excited, and let's get these questions going because I have some questions I've been dying to ask you.
Yeah, let's get into it. And I mean, you're right. Like, don't miss out on any opportunities. Don't sleep on any opportunities. I mean, it's all about taking risks, and I mean, I'm proud of you for just putting your neck out there and making shit happen. I wish a lot more people were as forward in terms of pursuing their opportunities.
Yeah, thank you so much, Noel. I think it's just so important that people are creating opportunities rather than waiting for them.
Yeah, I mean, from my side, always willing to help out, and I mean, participating in your podcast, and opportunity to help inspire people with our discussion today. I got into fitness for different reasons. I think other than many influences, a lot of people, I think, chose this career path, which has since become a career path, or let's refer to it as an opportunity, with the intent of remuneration and making money. I legitimately started. I mean, I have a business. I have a software engineering firm, which I had for a number of years. And my reason for getting into content was never with the intent of making money. It was really with the intent of helping and changing lives. I have made money in the process. I'm very fortunate for that because it's allowed me to focus more time on content. And, if anything, it's really provided a better quality of life. So, I mean, having said, always very appreciative of any opportunity and always willing to help out and give of my time, especially to young, inspiring influencers like yourself.
Yeah, I really admire, what you're doing because I definitely think a lot of people, definitely a lot of influencers on YouTube, Instagram, whatever, you've probably seen it. They're spreading a lot of false information, and just to kind of get more views and get more likes and make money. So I really, really admire what you're doing because I love watching your videos. I've watched every single video starting from the first video. So
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to take in sometimes because I often go back and I look back at some of the content that we started to put out, and a lot has happened in the last 12 months. It's really it's been an interesting ride. It's been a very fun journey up until now. A lot of it's happened over a relatively short period of time. I mean, I look back
mhm.
at some of the content, and I can't help but cringe at a lot of it, you know. But I'm glad it's evolved, and the quality has improved, and but
Yeah.
it's always nice to kind of look back at where it all began and where it all started, and I'm very thankful and appreciative to the OGs like yourself that have been there from the start. So thank you as well.
Yeah, hopefully I can be like you one day. So you just launched your own pre-workout.
Yeah, yeah, Godzilla. So I actually we at HQ, one well, at Rise HQ. That's one where the tornado shelter was. So as soon as we got the tornado warning, it was the
Oh,
first
nice.
place that we could seek some sort of safety and salvage from the
Yeah.
tornado. So we headed out here, and I mean it's a great place to film as well. A lot of the content generally gets filmed at night. It kind of suits the theme that we've established as well. But yeah, so at Rise HQ, always a tub on hand, available and ready. I'm joking, Jordan actually went to just fetch this for me quickly. But yeah, that's Godzilla. This it's been in the making for a while, and I was just so glad to see it actually finally come to life, to the point where we started to get some samples, and to the point where we started to see some designs, and then to the point where we finally received product. I was actually in Dubai at the time that we released the product around Black
Oh,
Friday, and I mean there was samples and product being shipped back and forth, but yeah, man, it's exciting product. It's kind of my go-to. Probably a little bit biased, but it's a badass pre-workout. It packs a punch, so probably not a daily driver for everyone. The fortunate thing is obviously there's two scoops in a
yeah.
full serving. So you can do a single scoop, or on those big workout days, you're training legs, then two scoop it all the way, man.
So, getting into, a little bit of the deeper questions. I know you've made a lot of videos on obviously that inspired a lot of people. What would be, some advice that you'd give to people with self-esteem issues and kind of are just afraid to go to the gym?
You know what? My best advice is always go to the gym. You got to start somewhere, and you got to get comfortable with the environment. You got to get comfortable with the equipment. Um, it might be a little bit overwhelming depending on the time that you go. So for a newbie that's recently joining or attending the gym, probably wouldn't want to go at a peak hour.
Hmm.
But a lot of people just say, I want to go to the gym, but I don't know where to start. My best advice is just go to the gym.
Hmm.
Step a foot in the gym and just slowly get yourself comfortable and familiar with, the environment, the people, the equipment, the exercises, and ease yourself into it. Get comfortable and make it enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that also kind of plays into motivation. I know one of your videos you were talking about how, you really shouldn't depend on motivation. Discipline is really where it's at. And I think, a lot of times motivation can last. I feel from my experience training a lot of clients as well, I feel like movement really creates motivation and results creates motivation. So like you said, just taking that step into the gym and really just getting kind of used to the environment and just going at it, you're definitely going to be seeing results. And for myself and for a lot of other people, we kind of just get addicted to the gym. And so that's what I really like about the gym is when you go, it's like a stress relief for me. You feel good, you kind of just let it all out. Asking how many days a week are you currently going to the gym?
I would go 7 days a week if I could. I have to stop myself from going. So I have to kind of force myself to take rest days, because I understand the value and the importance of those rest days. But I
Yeah.
absolutely love my time in the gym. It's a place where I can just you know, spend some me time, break away from the problems in the world,
Yeah.
and just it's my happy place. And I say to a lot of people, you got to establish your why. You know,
Mhm.
um, my my why when I started working out versus my why now is vastly different, but my why is what keeps me going each and every single day. You know,
Yeah.
my why when I started out was I lacked self confidence. I was very insecure. I was bullied. I was mocked. I was extremely underweight, introvert, and I'd gone through a breakup. I found
Hmm.
myself with free time, no friends, and yeah, I mean, I just thought the gym would be a good place to one, put on muscle and build up my confidence, and two, meet people, and that
Hmm.
it was, that it did, that it brought for me. So, versus now, it's a place for me to continue to work on myself so that I can have a physique which inspires and motivates others. So I kind of feel like there's this pressure on me to look a certain way so that I can be of inspiration to others.
Do you ever lose motivation?
I don't think I've ever lost motivation.
Hmm.
However, what I can say is when I prep for a show, as I do competitive bodybuilding, so when I prep for a show, it at that point it feels like it's a job.
Mm.
It's another job. And what I can say is I don't enjoy training then as much,
Hmm.
because it feels like I'm leaving work to go to work, to go to another job.
Right.
So
Right.
I still go every single day. I still put in maximum effort, but I can say I enjoy it less during that particular period. But
Hmm.
for myself, I can't say I've ever reached the point of having no motivation. I think you've got to make it as sustainable as possible to the point where you enjoy it.
Right.
For anyone that's getting into it, for someone that was to get into it, and for them to go through what I did in terms of prep and working out through prep could be quite a major deterrent, you know, or taking up, bodybuilding or strength training because your friends want you to, versus doing something that you're passionate about and that you actually enjoy. For me, I'm an advocate for being fit and going to the gym, and working on yourself and improving yourself. So, I kind of see myself as a gatekeeper to inspire the youth and to get them into the gym and wherever that may lead them. Whether you want to go into CrossFit or whether you want to
Yeah.
go into bodybuilding or powerlifting, strength training, you name it, whichever,
Hmm.
but explore it, see what you enjoy, and follow your passion within that. And if you're following your passion within that, it's very unlikely you'll face, or be demotivated in the process.
Definitely. I definitely agree that that passion is a incredible driver. Now, when you were talking about when you're prepping for a show and you're going to the gym and it's kind of feels like a job, is that also does that also apply to when you have to cut, when you have to watch your diet even more? Because I'm cutting right now and it's just I have so much cravings and it's just so hard. Does that also apply to diet as well?
Yeah. Look, diet is tough. I say I mean, because I work with a lot of athletes, and I say, training is the fun part. Training is actually the easy part. It's the dieting, it's the eating, which is the challenge. It's about the preparing of the meals. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of preparation. It's about
Yeah.
the controlled eating, eating what you should when you should.
Yeah.
Therein it is the challenges. And so again, off the bat, if you're going to go straight into following a diet, it's going to be a challenge. You most likely get demotivated, and it's not very sustainable. You're most likely to fall off the wagon. So I say to a lot of people that are starting out to kind of ease themselves in and rather work through a process of elimination. So let's get rid of the bad things and
Hmm.
slowly start cleaning up, slowly start introducing, you know, start eating regularly. So start eating regular meals for starters.
Right.
Establish what your calories are, establish what your macros are, and then slowly start cleaning up to the point where you can really start following a strict and controlled diet. That, in my opinion, is the most sustainable way.
Right.
And especially with prep, it's as you go along, and it depends what sort of diet you're following. If you're going to go the rice, chicken, and broccoli sort of prep, find ways to flavor your food to make it more enjoyable.
For sure.
Be it through low calorie sources or be it through spices. Get creative and, just make your meals more exciting and more enjoyable. It's all
For
about
sure.
finding a more sustainable approach to doing it. Otherwise, yeah, eating really can be a challenge, and that's typically where you see quite a high drop off. But if you make it enjoyable and if you're following it and you're seeing results
Hmm.
generally help with motivation.
Right. And I was just gonna say, you probably feel very satisfied by the end of it.
It is, and I mean, once you've gone through that process, it's very difficult because a lot of people that are competing for the first time, it can be a real challenge. You can develop these cravings, and you'll want, I did. I mean, I developed these bizarre cravings. I used to crave. I couldn't stomach Parmesan cheese, and I couldn't. I'd never really had ever this dessert or a treat called baklava. But I started to
Yeah.
develop cravings for it. It's almost like my mind.
Wow.
It was the foods that had the most flavor, and they had the most sweetness. Uh, Visually, what I've seen through pictures, or I started to
Yeah.
crave these things, because of what I'd cut out. And this was with my first prep because I'd just gone like cold turkey, and really gone with boiled chicken, boiled rice, and broccoli. I mean, it was pretty brutal, but it was my first show, and like you slowly, you know, fine tune these things as you progress. But in the beginning, yeah, it wasn't easy. Having said, afterwards, everyone's like, "Yeah, no, I'm going to stuff my face. I can't wait. I'm going to eat so many
Yeah.
chocolates, and I've already started my stockpile, and I've gotten all my sweets and chocolates, and I'm going to absolutely devour pizzas and burgers." One, that may last for a couple of hours because you're going to have severe stomach ache afterwards,
Right.
and you're gonna get down the first couple of burgers or pizzas or chocolates, and then you're gonna feel very uncomfortable. You're gonna feel nauseous. You're gonna have a lot of stomach ache, and you're not gonna
Hmm.
want to eat these things.
Right.
And so I mean, I kind of encourage a lot of people to prep for a show, even if you're not prepping for the sake of stepping on stage. Prep for the sake of doing a mock prep, but challenge yourself,
Hmm.
and go through the process of doing a bodybuilding prep,
Right.
because what you would gain from that is far more valuable. The discipline that you will gain from that will filter through into your training, will filter through into other aspects of your life. You know, the sort of discipline that you get will filter through into a relationship, will filter through into your working environment. So yeah, it, it's a very life changing experience and process.
Hmm. What would be like the first thing that you'd eat after a show?
For me, my go-to was always pizza. My kind
Nice.
of go-to cheat always was pizza. I love pizza. So after my last show, I actually managed to put down 3 pizzas.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had two like savory pizzas. It was like a barbecue chicken, avocado, and feta cheese, and the other one was bacon, brie, and cranberry.
Oh wow.
Strange combination, but great tasting pizza, especially when you're being in prep. And then the third pizza was actually like a sweet pizza, so it was like a chocolate pizza with Oreo and
Oh,
yeah.
I've never had a sweet pizza before. Oh,
Yeah,
how
look back, going back in South Africa, you know, there are certain establishments that have these sweet pizzas, but I think like Pizza Hut, I'm sure may have similar. I actually haven't seen anything during my stay here in the States, but they do exist.
since we're on the topic of, prepping for a show and such, what would you tell if a 19-year-old came up to you and it was like, Noel, I want to start a cycle. What would be something you would say to this 19-year-old?
So, number one, at the age of 19, it shouldn't even be a consideration. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would want to make sure that the person has really made their absolute best attempt at getting their nutrition in check, following a a eating plan of sort that is suited to their goals and desired physique in terms of what they want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
That they put their best efforts into that. They look at their supplementation, and they look at obviously they're getting the max out of training, but yeah, that because if you haven't nailed that down, even if you're considering a course which at that age would be very problematic for your hormones, but
For sure.
at even if you haven't nailed that down, you're still not going to get the desired results that you're expecting.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So first and foremost, just nail down your eating. Some of the best results that I ever saw. I mean, I've been training for a number of years, and it was only since I really managed to nail down my eating, the changes that I saw in my physique. I just wish I could, if you could turn back the clock, if you could go back and if you could
Mm.
change that one thing, I really wish well in advance, years prior, that I focused, that I understood what calories were and macros and what my calories were for my goals and what my macros were for my goals. And I really had a better hand over that, because I can only imagine or think of where I would be at this point if I did that
Yeah.
many years ago. So yeah.
And so like with diet, like I find it's actually very shocking to me back when I was working at the gym and I had, some clients coming to see me and I had this really shredded, jacked guy come up to me. I'm asking him, what do you eat for breakfast? What do you eat for lunch, dinner? Just to kind of know what his nutrition is like. And this guy literally says, I eat cereal, milk, breakfast, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's all I eat. And this guy's just absolutely shredded. So I think, for a lot of people out there, you can still achieve the aesthetics body of your dreams. For some people, it's just going to be sooner than others, and I think that's not something that you should be discouraged by.
Some people really are blessed with better genetics. Um, you know, I look at some of my friends. I mean, they can just look at chocolate and put on weight. you know,
Right.
genetics do play a role in that sense. Um, I look at the progress that I made, and I think back, having said, once I really did clean up my eating, I saw drastic changes in my physique. But I still am surprised at the progress that I made considering what I was eating.
Mm-hmm.
My diet
Mm-hmm.
was terrible. I
Mm.
was well below my protein requirements. Um, I was eating rubbish. This was obviously years ago, whilst I was still kind of experimenting and kind of getting into training, and but I think for a lot of other people in that same position would have ended up putting on a significant amount of weight. Um, but obviously, my body was able to process that a lot better. And yeah,
Yeah.
genetics do play a role, but
Yeah.
some people are going to be able to eat and get far better results. Some are just really going to have to nail down the eating, but you got to see what works for you.
Yeah. Protein is so important because I feel like a lot of people actually are not getting the amount of protein that they should be getting every day. Like, I mean, for myself, when I started working out, I was 150 pounds and I was probably getting around 80 grams of protein a day. And now I'm eating, so much protein compared to before. And I think it's just such a crazy difference how much my diet changed. And, the moment the diet changed, the results just kind of came really, really quickly. And so would you say like, about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight on a daily basis is kind of like a good rule of thumb to go for?
Yeah. So, I mean, pounds, kilos, it's a little bit different for myself, but I think that's a general rule of thumb or ratio that you can work on.
Mm-hmm.
For those that, I mean, what I advise is obviously get familiar with your calorie requirements. There's more than enough tools that are available now
Yeah.
online for you to arrive at a far more accurate, um, you know, estimate or calculation in terms of what you should be on. But as a general rule of thumb, that's general, yeah, the general ratio.
I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about aesthetics. And obviously, you should always train every body part, every muscle, more or less equally. But say, this guy at the gym, he really wanted to impress the hot moms walking around. What muscles would you say would be the most important in terms of aesthetics to train?
So it look, it depends on the person. Again, genetics do play a role. For myself, I when I started working out, I focused solely on chest and arms. It's because it made me look more impressive in a t-shirt, and when I went out, I might have looked more impressive, going out to a nightclub or whatever. But I, as a result, I neglected back and legs, and I think a lot of a lot of people that I'm familiar with have the tendency to do so. You
Yeah,
know, um, but obviously you want to go for, and I think the industry is shifting. So to answer
for
this
sure.
in a roundabout way, I think, for my generation, it was all about mass, and it was less about aesthetics. It was more just about mass.
Hmm.
Whereas today, I see a complete shift, in how aesthetics is looked at, and I think aesthetics is one of the key driving factors here.
Yeah.
Where you want to go for the X frame with the broad shoulders, the small little
Yeah.
waist, get nice big legs, big sweeps on the car on the quads for the legs. So there's a lot of focus and attention around aesthetics at this point. There, Arnold, there's certain ratios in terms of what perfect symmetry should be, but whether or not that has changed or shifted, obviously it's about finding the balance. Give equal attention to certain body parts. Having said, I see a lot of athletes training for different divisions or categories. For example, men's physique. The men's physique athletes neglect their legs because obviously they're being covered in board shorts. So,
Right.
legs aren't of much importance.
Hmm.
But I find that comes back to challenge them later in
Right.
their lifting career, depending on what division or category they want to move up to.
Hmm.
A lot of these guys have a tendency to move from men's physique into classic. And being in classic, there's a lot of emphasis around legs. And then it's a matter of playing catch up. And it's
Right.
not that easy because it takes a number of years to develop the legs and work on the legs up until the point that they're symmetrical to the upper body.
Right.
And a big set of legs is certainly very impressive. A big set of legs and a big set of shoulders gives the illusion of even a smaller waist, and it just adds to the overall aesthetics, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think to avoid that, I think a lot of people should just get comfortable and familiar with a full body overall workout, paying equal attention to the various body parts. And
Right.
I really wish at some point someone actually was brutally honest enough and cared enough to be straightforward with me and saying, you know what, no, I really think you should focus more on your legs, or I really think you should focus more on your lats.
Yeah.
It's difficult because we judge ourselves and our appearance based on what we see in the mirror,
Hmm.
and so what do we typically see in the mirror? We typically see chest, we typically see shoulders, we typically see arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't necessarily see a back, we don't see much of our back, we don't see much of our
Yeah.
hamstrings. But a lot of these body parts are what are winning shows and competitions, and so
Right.
naturally should be given equal attention. Rear delts, I think, one of the most underrated, underdeveloped, muscles. But if worked on, the definition, that it gives, that 3D look that it gives to the shoulders, really contributes so much to the overall aesthetics.
Hmm.
So, yeah, be a good gym bro and have a one-on-one, heart-to-heart, be brutally honest and tell your
Yeah.
gym bro what he's lacking, what you feel he should improve on. I wish someone had done that for me. I mean, I can tell you now, I had a gym partner for a while, and he never trained legs. He just every single leg day, even as I realized I need to improve on legs and I started to work out legs, he refused to work out his legs, and he would skip out on every leg session, to the point where he actually looked a little bit awkward. You know,
Right.
and I didn't have that conversation with him, but I actually wish I had. Just to say, you know what, guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but Jim dude, yeah, I really feel like you should focus on legs. I mean, I really feel it's lacking to a large extent. And as a gym bro, I should have taken up that responsibility.
Yeah.
So be a good gym bro.
Be a good gym bro. What I find with my experience is I also, when I first started working out, was only trained chest and arms. And what happened was that my chest got so tight and shortened that my shoulders kind of started rolling forward like this.
Pull your shoulders in, pull shoulders forward. Exactly.
Yeah, and my posture became really, really bad. And to kind of work backwards and kind of reverse that just took a while, and it was a lot of work. So I'd recommend just from the get go, just really balance it out.
And also, it can lead to injury.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the fact that I neglected legs and more specifically hamstrings
Hmm.
when I started to do certain back exercises, be it a deadlift, certain exercises, my my hips, my glutes were very weak, and I often faced a lot of injury, had a lot of inflammation as a result.
Hmm.
So as you mentioned, with the issues that you had in terms of posture, with that comes certain risks that we run performing exercises with incorrect posture or form too.
Yeah.
So it's more than aesthetics.
Mhm, mhm, definitely. I find it's so much science and it's a lot of hard work. A lot of science and a lot of hard work.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I think to the point where uh, it can be a little bit daunting and overwhelming, for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Especially when you start getting into the competitive side, when you start doing competitive bodybuilding, that's when the real science does come into it.
Mhm.
But just for most people wanting to get into training, just start. Just go. And what I wasn't unfortunate to have was social media at the time I started working out.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the resources that are available today. I mean, my
Yeah.
my channel, my platforms, and a lot of others.
Mhm.
There's some great channels out there. There's some great platforms that offer very valuable advice. Take the time, go through, watch the content, familiarize yourself, be a sponge, take that information in. It's not necessary to learn the hard way. I learned the hard way. I really did.
Mhm.
I learned the hard way because I didn't have the information. The information wasn't freely or readily available. And so I don't want my audience to learn the hard way. I would
Yeah.
I've paid my school fees in that sense, and that's why ultimately I try and just repackage a lot of the mistakes that I've made, or a lot of information that I've gained over the years and through my experience into short form, relatable content that ultimately would save them a lot of time in getting
Yeah.
them to achieving their goals.
Yeah. So obviously you're a lot of people's, favorite influencer, especially mine. Who would you say is kind of your favorite influencer?
My favorite influencer. So, to answer that one, I had influences which got me into bodybuilding. I would like to,
Mm.
just give mention to them. Jay Cutler,
Mm.
he's still active, still on social media. I still follow him, follow all of his stuff. He was a big inspiration to myself when starting out. Some of the guys that I really enjoy at the moment, we got the likes of Joe Aesthetics.
Yeah, Joe Aesthetics. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I love his energy. Um, you know, um, the information again, the way that he puts the information out, very enjoyable content. So yeah, to the guys that kind of got me into it, to the guys like Joe that are really doing exceptionally well at this point. Um, the thing is, it's almost like there's been a shift in terms of the way influencers are approaching social media. I think
Mhm.
we've passed the days where it was just posting pictures and saying, look at me, you know,
Yeah.
I have a six pack, look at me, to really, so call it visual motivation, right? I think that's really what a lot of them used to offer. But now it's more of providing real value and educational information,
Yes,
plus the
definitely.
motivation. That's
Hmm.
really adding a lot of value and offering good advice, and yeah, and inspiring a lot of people and getting a lot of people into fitness and making it a lot more sustainable and enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do have just really quickly two more questions because I don't want to keep you for too long. I know you're busy. One question actually I think would be funny for a lot of people, and you've made some videos on this already. Is like fapping before a workout, does that affect your workout? Because for some people, obviously, you feel kind of lethargic after. For some people, some studies apparently suggest that it actually helps you build muscle. So, what would be your take on this kind of situation here?
Yes, I've done a few videos on this, which actually did very well. I think it's a subject that has a lot of people's attention,
Yeah, I mean,
and
everyone
has
does
a
it.
lot, yeah, it has a
Yeah.
lot of different views because some people feel absolutely lethargic afterwards, and some people feel very energized and enthusiastic
Hmm.
afterwards, and so there are
Yeah.
different views and different perspectives of it. But when it comes down to the studies, the effects that it has is so minuscule, you know,
Right.
that I think it comes down more specifically to the person and how the person responds, than how the body responds. So if you find
Right.
it makes you lethargic, probably best to avoid it. I mean, you want to go into your workout, you want to have a lot of energy, you want to have a lot of enthusiasm, you really want to go, you really want to smash that workout.
Hmm.
So probably best to save it for after. But if it works for you, if you're gonna push out some big PRs by doing it prior, man, then you do you, King. Like
Fap away.
whatever works for you. I don't discourage it. There's this whole thing about no, not November, and
Yeah.
you know, actually, it was during that period I was in Dubai, and I mean, I did an interview with Larry Wheels. It was really quite, I mean,
I saw
comedic
that. Yeah.
his response. Um, so if there's no need, if you're doing it for other reasons, if you're doing it to test your discipline,
Hmm.
then do it for that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the benefits, in terms of working out, then I really feel it comes down to personal preference.
Definitely. I have just one last question for you. Obviously, this show is a lot basically about diving into the bodybuilder's mind and trying to get to know, what makes this person successful. And I know, I think in a video you were driving a GTR. Do you drive a GTR? Or I know you were also driving a Civic.
Yeah, I, sad story. I actually I did like a Q&A. I don't do many of those on IG tonight. And one of the questions came through, and the guy is like, GTR. And I said, look, I miss it. If
Oh.
I miss it I'm so sentimental over that vehicle. It's like a child, and I'm
Mm.
having separation anxiety from my child at this point.
Oh.
Uh, but yeah, it's back home. It's in SA. It's in storage. I left it on the trickle charger.
Hmm.
Someone occasionally goes just to start it up, but yeah, I'm looking at, it's a little bit, uncertain times in the sense where I don't know where I'm going to be next month. At this point, there's a lot of travel, in a very fortunate position to be doing a lot of travel. And
Hmm.
I mean, but with that, there's certain pros and there's certain cons.
Yeah.
I'm here in the US now. Probably be here until around June. I mean, there'll be a good couple of months that I won't be back in South Africa, but then I will be going to South Africa. And then I really have to make a very difficult decision in terms of what I'm going to do with the vehicle. Right now,
Hmm.
busy speaking to people to look at the possibilities of doing a right-hand drive to a left-hand drive conversion.
Oh,
Yeah, because
interesting.
I mean, South Africa is obviously right-hand drive vehicle, so
Right.
it's not that simple. In just in terms of bringing the
Yeah.
vehicle here,
Yeah.
or to most places, I think only around 20% of the countries are actually right-hand drive. So majority are left-hand drive. But I mean, it is possible to do a conversion. And I mean, that would be first prize because a lot of people are like, oh, well, just sell the vehicle and you can just build a new one. But I think if there was the perfect build for me, in terms of sound, it's not about speed. It's about aesthetics. It's about
Yeah.
sound. There's so much the way that car has the vehicle has just it just resonates so perfectly well with myself. I would be very heartbroken if I had to get rid of it.
Mm,
And you mentioned the Civic, beautiful vehicle. I've done quite a bit of work on that one too. That's the Honda Civic, the Type R.
nice.
It's yeah, I'm a big JDM fan. Great vehicle. I love it, but I wouldn't be as heartbroken or as sad having to get rid of
Right.
that one. My
Right.
mother's driving it at the moment, and she's certainly
Oh,
enjoying
is
it.
that?
But it might have found a new home already.
That's funny. So, I mean, I would love a GTR in the future. My dream car, I'm currently driving a 2010 Camaro. But if I were
Yes.
to, you know, hopefully get a GTR in the future, I wanted to get to know a little bit more about your day-to-day routine because I want to do exactly what you're doing.
So day-to-day routine at the moment, okay.
Yeah.
So I have a software business in South Africa, which I have had for the last 15 years.
Wow.
And it's a bit of a challenge at the moment. It's a bit of a struggle because as we're starting our day here, they're ending their day there because of the time difference.
Mm,
And they typically start
makes
their
sense.
day when we end our day. And I'm talking like around midnight, 1 a.m. So
Right.
time right now is a challenge. It's a major struggle.
Yeah.
But outside of that, typically what I do is, and this has been in transition, I've been working on this transition to, you know, putting in more time towards social media at this point. Whereas before, when I was solely like dedicated on building the software company, I was working probably around 14 to 16 hours a day,
Wow.
as much as 16 hours a day. I'd wake up, immediately get to work, take an hour for gym. I allocated myself 1 hour. Everything was by the watch. Everything had to be very controlled. I had a strict schedule. I get back home, eat dinner, and then I'd be working again until typically around 12, 1 a.m. And it was just this repetitive cycle, and it's been like that for so many years. Then social media came into play, and I really had to kind of juggle my time. It was a challenge, I must be honest, because I managed to squeeze in. So I would typically go, I'd have a workout, I'd get back, have dinner,
Hmm.
film, um, edit, upload. I mean, this whole process can take around 3, 4 hours. To the
Oh,
point,
yeah.
with Jordan, who works with me, he was also doing this like part time to the point where we managed to get him full time, working on edits and filming and all of that.
Yeah.
And then I started to slowly allocate more hours of my day towards social media.
Right.
And then I got to the point where I was allocating days out of my week towards social media.
Mm,
Now I'm at the point where I'm allocating hours of my day towards the software company. So this process has taken around 12 months. I've been grooming an individual to take over and make sure that that business is still operational.
mm,
I didn't want to see that business fail or fall because of my pursuit for my passion or something that I'm
right.
enjoying or what I'm enthusiastic about. So I had to make sure that it's still, the wheels still turn. Um,
It's
yeah,
something that
yeah,
you've worked really hard for, and it's kind of like your children.
mhm.
You never really want to let one of them die off.
Yeah, a literal like
Yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy in South Africa having a business. So there are a lot of challenges around that. So literal blood, sweat, and tears that I managed to grow the company to where it is today. And but yeah, so sorry. So typically wake up, depending if I'm doing competition prep or not, will depend on how much fasted cardio I do in the morning. But I'll typically have a black cup of coffee, some black coffee. I'll get on the treadmill or the bike and I'll just hit out some cardio. I'll catch up on initial emails whilst I'm doing that. So kind of just a
Multitask.
distraction, just
Yeah.
just hitting out some emails, and it just takes you away from the actual cardio that you're doing, and just helps you know um,
Yeah.
pass time a little bit quicker as well. I don't
Cardio is
particularly
boring.
like cardio, just
Yeah, me
throwing
neither.
this out there, but it does certainly help pass time. Um, and then I'll get straight on to breakfast, get breakfast out the way, and then the whole morning, I typically got meetings, I typically got calls. I'm very meticulous about my meals, so everything is timed. I make sure that I try and make sure that my meals are prepped. So I try and make sure
Yeah.
that I do at least 2 to 3, days a week where I do a decent cook up. I like to cook my own food, and I'll just do like a lot of chicken breast. I'll do a lot of rice. And then just before I need to eat, I'll find ways of, just assembling the meals and just making them a lot more enjoyable. And so I'm meticulous about what time I eat. Everything is by the watch in that sense. Um, then it's off to the studio to start filming content.
Hmm.
Leave the studio, typically go to the gym. Back home, we have a home gym, but I prefer training at the public gym. I find
Better
you
energy.
know, my energy, my work ethic is a lot better. There's just a different environment. People are there. People are there to work, and I kind
Yeah.
of thrive with that energy and that atmosphere. And I tend to push a lot harder than what I would at the gym when it's myself. So for that reason, and also in terms of time management, I find like, you're at home and the gym is always there, it's always open. And then I would get a little bit, too complacent, and I would maybe have a nap on the couch because I could,
Hmm.
and wake up and have a meal and slowly walk into the gym and have a workout. And a workout could last an hour to 3 hours. So just for me to structure my day better, I would eat, get in the car, go to the gym, have a good workout, get back home, and in the home gym we use as our filming environment there, where we do a
Right.
lot of different types of content.
Hmm.
And then after that, I have a training academy. So usually after the gym, whilst Jordan is busy doing the editing, I'm sitting working on the academy. So that typically takes around 2 to 3 hours. And then afterwards, the videos are ready to post. And then I like to be very involved in terms of engaging with the audience. So I'll upload the videos and then I'll start interacting in terms of
Yeah.
commenting, DMs, and all of that.
Hmm.
So kind of just broken the day down into different time slots or different
Yeah.
allocations.
Right.
For me, I'm all about structure, so I like to have that structure in place.
Yeah.
It yeah, just helps me manage my schedule a lot better.
Yeah. So I think a big thing to take away from today's show is that a lot of people are saying, I have no time, I have no time. But, look at Noel. He was working, 15, 16 hours a day, but he still found time, for the gym. So I'd say, don't have time, don't have results. You got to make time for, what you want, especially for cardio. I think cardio is so important.
I absolutely, it really bothers me when people say that because I hear that just far too often.
Yeah.
I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to prepare meals. Like, I know what it's like to not have time, and still I put in my best effort because I want more for myself. I have goals, I have aspirations, and I need to put in the work in order to get there. So it really, at the end of the day, it comes down to attitude and not
Hmm.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll find the time. It's very easy to get so caught up in your day,
Yeah.
but by adding a little bit of structure to it, then you'll see that you'll be able to find the time.
Yeah. One final question, because since we were, talking about cardio and how cardio is pretty important, it kind of what jumped in my mind, because I remember I was training a few cops back at the gym, and you'd be surprised that I took this guy through a 10-minute, regular dynamic warm up that high schoolers would do during PE, and then he like almost died. Like, he is so nauseous, he wanted to throw up. He was like, "Give me a second." And so it's just kind of crazy to think that you know cops, would have, kind of a little bit of a lower tolerance for cardio. But what would you say? Why is cardio important, and how much should you do?
So, how much should you do? Really depends on what your goals are. Myself, when I am bulking, I typically do less cardio, but I still do cardio. Versus when I'm cutting, I put in a lot more.
Hmm.
There are general guidelines in terms of how much you should do per week,
Right.
but it comes down to the importance of doing cardio for overall health.
Hmm.
So there's a few factors here to consider. There's your physique and your goals, and what your current condition is.
Hmm.
It depends on your age. I mean, there's a number of factors. But what is your body fat percentage? What is your goal weight? What is your desired weight? And how much cardio should you do? Versus,
Yeah.
how much calories you're consuming at the same time. So there is obviously a bit of science behind that, and there are some
Yeah.
calculations that you're going to have to do. But, aim for around 150 minutes a week. That is kind of the suggested average guideline in terms of light cardio. And that's more for the health benefits of it in terms of heart health.
Yeah.
But if it's for physique, obviously those numbers would vary considerably based on what it is you're
Yeah.
trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think a good principle to go by, what I learned, was the FIT principle, which stands for frequency, intensity, time, and type. So, depending on what your goal is, just, try and, I think your whole workout program, whole diet program, everything, it just depends on your body and, what you're trying to go for. So
100%. Yeah.
yeah, I know, initially we said 5 minutes, and then I went to 10, 20 minutes, and now it's been an hour. So I apologize for that, but do you, have any last words that you'd like to tell everybody?
No, I assumed it would take this amount of time. I tend to talk a lot too, so I tend to get carried away, and I tend to have quite long-winded answers. And But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I think it was some very good questions that were raised. I think I hope it's going to be valuable and insightful, for your audience, and I hope that really they'll take something from this. And ultimately, any sort of content that I put out with the intent of helping, inspiring, benefiting, and adding value, contributing positively to a person's life. And that's even down to the type of podcasts and the interviews and typically what is discussed, because I just want to make sure that there's something that someone can take away that's ultimately going to benefit them from this. So
Yeah.
appreciate the time that you put into it. Appreciate the questions that you have asked. Um, Admire what you're doing. I wish you all the success with your show, and I hope you
Thank you.
have some really cool people that you bring on and let them tell their stories and let them to spread, positivity and education and value and purpose.
Yeah. Thank you so much, because I know you're super busy, and I just can't believe honestly that I'm even sitting here talking to you right now. So it's just incredible. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank
Yeah.
you for the opportunity. Like I said, um, in closing, I think best advice to anyone who's thinking of starting, just start.
Yes.
Just don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Get into the gym, get a weight in your hand, get on the machine, and take it from there.
Yeah.
Don't let it deter you. Don't be too concerned about, how to do exercises. I hear so many people saying, I want to, but, let's remove the but from it. Let's just take that bold leap and get you into the gym. And, you'll see it's not such a scary place. I think the gym environment is changing. I think the gym community is changing. It's such a wonderful, wholesome community where people are becoming so incredibly supportive. I see less judgment and I see a lot more upliftment and support. So, for those that are concerned
Yes.
about going because they're scared of being judged, I think you'll be very surprised by the people that you'll meet in the gyms.
So get out there, guys, and make the best out of it. Thank you so much, Noel. Or is it
Thank
is it Noel or Noel? Because I've heard both.
Yeah, it's actually the way it's spelled is Noel, but it's said
Oh.
Noel. And I think that is purely because no one could ever say Noel, I think, in South Africa. And so it just became Noel. And well, it
Ah.
kind of stuck. And I mean, that's how everyone in my family refers to me. So I'm
Okay.
probably most familiar with Noel.
Okay.
But yeah, whatever works. I've heard so many variations. It's actually
And
a breath of fresh air to hear people attempt to pronounce my name. It
yeah,
just
it looks like I gotta go back and edit that out a little bit. Let's see
no,
what we
no,
can
no,
do.
no. Please leave it. Leave it. I think online more people know me at this point as Noel than what they do as Noel. So
I see.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm happy either way, champ. Don't you worry.
So that wraps up episode 1 of Gym Bro Talks. Make sure you're subscribing, you're following. I have and I will be inviting more guests on the show, but I want to hear from you guys. Who do you want on the show next, and what questions do you want me to ask them? This is James from Gym Bro Talks. I'll see you in the next episode.